Welcome back to the Aggie Pridecast. I am your host, Brian Holloway, and this week there is a big game, big football game going on down in Bowling Springs, North Carolina, where the North Carolina A&T Aggies will travel to play Gardner Webb at noon on Saturday for the Big South Conference Championship. And joining me today, we have our special guest. He is the radio man for Gardner Webb. His name is Dave Freeman. He will join us here today. Dave, welcome, man.
Thanks so much for having me. Can't wait for Saturday. Should be a good ball game.
Should be a good ball game, man. So we want to show you a little Aggie love today before the game on Saturday when we try to show Aggie love. So, also with me is the radio man for North Carolina A&T. His name is Al Swan, former quarterback for North Carolina A&T. He's got his Kappa on today, so he is ready for the Kappa slide and all that, but he's going to talk a little A&T football with us. He is our analyst, has been our analyst for about 10 years now on A&T radio, knows everything there is to know about North Carolina A&T. And so we're going to pick these men's brains here, talking about the game on Saturday. And Dave, let's start with the enemy, so to speak, the Gardner Webb Running Bulldogs, 5-5 overall, 4-0 in the Big South Conference. And first of all, what kind of crowd are we expecting down there in Bowling Springs on Saturday?
Well, I think the community's excited. I think the fan base is energized. It's been a long time since Gardner Webb played a meaningful football game this late in the year. And my anticipation, and I have to assume that you guys expect this too, is Aggie Nation is going to be present, loud, and a whole bunch of them. So I think between the two teams, they're going to fill it up pretty good.
That's no question about it. The biggest game in North Carolina, we're going ahead and claim it. The biggest game in North Carolina is down in Bowling Springs. You talked about the community and their excitement about the football game. What kind of feedback are you getting about this football team, what they mean to the community, and just this run they've been on lately?
Gardner Webb is in a really interesting place. They have a president that's only been around 3 or 4 years. He hired the football coach who has now been around for 3 seasons, and he just hired a new athletic director within the last several months. So it's very much a school in transition, and they're prioritizing football now more than they probably ever have, or at least have in a long, long time. Trey Lamb, the young football coach, is a juice guy. He's an energy guy. He's a new school, young offensive play caller, very innovative, always has some tricks up his sleeve. And I think that's the type of football when you don't have a long winning tradition that can energize students and a local population that, quite frankly, has become used to seeing the program be kind of mediocre.
We're here with Dave Freeman, the radio man for Gardner Webb, also with Al Swan. Al, let's talk about A&T just for a little bit before we jump back into the Running Bulldogs. You are entrenched in the community. You kind of understand Aggie Nation a little bit. That first game out, North Carolina Central, that's the big one. That's the rivalry game. A&T, I think it threw us back on our heels a little bit. Aggie Nation got a little shaky after that loss to North Carolina Central. As it turns out, they're the 25th ranked team in the nation, so they actually were a pretty good football team. What was the sentiment after North Carolina Central? Then A&T loses the next 2, North Dakota State, Duke. Kind of what was that sentiment after that 0-3 rocky start for A&T?
Well, you got to remember, Brian, that, a lot of people are very, very critical of A&T, especially after losing to North Carolina Central. I mean, that is a big rivalry here in the area. But, as I tell people, we are right on schedule. If you take that North Carolina Central game away, our next 2 opponents, of course, were North Dakota State, which was number 1 in the country. And then we had to play an ACC team, Power 5 team, Duke, and we lost to Duke. But since then, we are right where we're supposed to be. And so, I come into this game with a lot of confidence. We have been improving with every game. And as Dave said, this is an ideal matchup for a championship game. And I'm like Dave, I can't wait. This is going to be a really exciting game.
Dave, what does you mentioned? Let's start with the coaches. Trey Lamb. You mentioned him, young guy. I met him during the coaches meetings over the summer. And like you said, real energetic guy, comes out very intelligent guy. What was, when he first got there, kind of what was his philosophy about getting Gardner-Webb to the point where it is now?
You know, the two coaches in this game couldn't really be more of a contrast, right? Trey is young. He is offensive minded. He is new school. He is energetic. And he is at a program that needed rehabilitating, needed not only energy, but quite frankly, new players. He needed new players at most positions. And he came in understanding that it was going to be a process, that it was going to take some time. And through a couple of recruiting cycles, he's brought in his guys, mainly Bailey Fisher, the quarterback, who played for him at Tennessee Tech. So it's taken a little bit of a time, but this is really Trey Lamb's team. Sam Washington, I talked to him this week. You guys know what he is. There's nothing that he's going to do that is outside the box. It's just good, hard, solid, fundamental football. If you can run the ball and you can stop the run, you don't need to do all that other stuff. It takes care of itself. And the tradition that North Carolina A&T has is obvious to anybody that pays attention. So it's really a contrast. It's really two very different programs.
Yeah, we call it making chicken around here. Kentucky Fried Chicken, all they do is sell chicken. They keep it simple. They don't sell burgers. They don't sell burritos. They just do chicken. That's all they do is chicken.
Exactly.
And then that's his philosophy. All we're going to do is run the football, stop the run, win the kicking game, and not turn the ball over. And that's the ingredients. That's the, special recipe. And that's what they've been successful here at A&T thus far. Al, you talked to Sam. He is kind of down-to-earth, meat and potatoes kind of guy.
Well, no doubt about it. But, here's the problem. I'm not worried about the running from Gardner-Webb. I'm worried about Bailey Fisher and TJ Luther, man. I'm telling you, those guys throwing the football. I mean, they're averaging 39 points a game, Brian, and they don't do it by running the ball. So we're going to have a very good game plan set up to not only control their passing game, but I think it's going to be very, very important for us to control the time of possession. And you do that by a running game. So I'm really looking forward to A&T hopefully being able to run the ball against Gardner-Webb Saturday and to keep Fisher and those guys off the field so they can't put up 39 points on us. You know what I mean? So it's an intriguing game. It really is. And so, as I said earlier, really looking forward to it.
Well, here's the fascinating thing about it, Al, I think. And this is where Dave and those guys are going to trip you up. I do think they run the football. And I think where they get you is the play action. Because if I remember the game a year ago, they're running, but Nari Gaither, he was good. Very shifty little back. He could catch it out the backfield. And they hand it to him, and he's hard to tackle. And then once they get you on him, man, they just start throwing that play action at you, and it's hard to keep those linebackers honest. And so I think it's a very funny game, and help me out here, Dave, but A&T comes in as this old-fashioned 3 yards in a cloud of dust type team, but you guys run the football pretty effectively.
Well, I think Gaither is Gardner-Webb's best offensive player. He was the preseason offensive player of the year, but it's because he can both run the ball and he can catch the ball. He was one of only a couple of guys coming back this year that led his team in both receptions and rushing yards last year. He's a 2,000-yard career rusher. Now, he missed 4 games this year. He was out for a lot of the beginning of the year, and the team kind of scuffled without him. But when you have Gaither at running back, you have TJ Luther, big play threat, stretch the field guy, and then Cottrell Haywood, who is the control guy, the slot guy, catches a million passes. It's hard to guard all three of those guys, and you have a leader, a floor general, an experienced quarterback in Bailey Fisher kind of conducting the orchestra. So it has been a really good offense. And much like you guys talked about with A&T, Gardner Webb played a really difficult schedule. There's no Duke on the schedule, but they were the only team at this level this year to play 3 schools up. They played Coastal Carolina, they played Marshall, and they played Liberty. 2 of those 3 games went to the final possession. They had an opportunity to win Coastal and to win the Liberty game. And then they've played a bunch of ranked teams. They played Mercer, they played Elon, and even their one non-Division I game, Limestone, they're nationally ranked and headed to the D2 tournament. So they've played a really good schedule. And when they've played like opponents, those offensive weapons have really shown out.
So you're saying we're going to have a little trouble on Saturday. I think that's what you're saying to me. I think
it's going to be a really good game. I don't know that Gardner Webb has played a team in quite a few weeks that has as good a lineman as A&T on both sides of the ball. I can, if I'm a Gardner Webb fan, I'm concerned at the point of attack. I'm concerned about the big boys up front.
Talk about that, Al. He makes a very good point.
Yeah,
A&T's offensive line has been excellent. I mean,
but
just from the eye test, they pushed some people off even Duke. I thought even pushed Duke a little bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Brian. We know that Bashal Tootin has been the bell cow for A&T in terms of rushing. He has 1,255 yards. But we cannot forget the fact that A&T on the outside really have some playmakers. In terms of Jack Leslie, who has 522 yards, Sterling Burkhalter, and we also been throwing the ball lately to Tootin. And so I think that he's right in terms of the offensive line for A&T has really done an excellent job. LeGrand, Wilson, Ricky Lee, and Stewart, they have really opened up some holes for Tootin. But they have also done a pretty good job in terms of their pass blocking that will give Fowler some time to throw to these excellent wide receivers that A&T has. And that's one of the things that makes this game so interesting because, we know that A&T loves to run the football. But we also, our playmakers are on the outside. And that's one of the reasons why, Brian, I really think that the X factor in this game might be Jalen Fowler. I mean, if he has a really, what I call quality game, this could be a really interesting ball game down at Boiling Springs on Saturday.
Let's since we're on the subject, let's talk quarterbacks a little bit. We'll start with Jalen. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster. Yep. A&T has played 4 quarterbacks. We played 4 quarterbacks in one game, if you recall, against South Carolina State, which I don't think I've ever seen before. But now Jalen has kind of been, because of injuries and different things, he's kind of become the full-time starter. And I don't think it's a secret that he's hobbled a little bit. He didn't start last week against Charleston Southern. But as a quarterback, Al, as a former quarterback, yourself as a former football coach, what have you seen in him in terms of improvement? Because there was about a 4-game stretch where he was really on a roll. I mean, he was completing a lot of passes down the field to Zach Leslie and Burkhalter and those guys. What have you seen in terms of improvement from Fowler from the beginning of the season to where we are now?
Well, there's 2 things, Brian. One is his decision-making. Last few games, he has really done an excellent job in terms of making decisions. And when he makes good decisions, it really helps his mechanics because, as you said, as an ex-quarterback, if your mechanics are good, your success rate is really going to go up. And when Fowler, when he sits in the pocket, when he's patient, and when he doesn't panic and get out of there, when he makes good decisions and his mechanics are well, he really throws the ball exponentially well. And, of course, with Leslie and Burkhalter and those other receivers, and also, we've been using Tootin coming out of the backfield, so that gives us another threat on the outside. So that's why I believe that Fowler could be really the X factor. I mean, if he stays within himself, if he makes good decisions, if he trust the offensive line to really give him the protection that he needs to get the ball downfield, I think it's going to make for a really interesting ball game.
Dave, let's talk Bailey Fisher here. I saw that he started out at Tennessee Tech, same place where Lamb came from. Tell us his history. Tell us his little background about him. He's thrown for more than 400 yards in 2 games this season. Has had several 300-yard passing games. Tell us a little bit of his history and what he brings to the table and why he makes that Gardner-Webb offense go.
You know, he's a Georgia kid. He had a really tough upbringing. He had a lot of challenges in his life, and he got to Tennessee Tech, and I don't know that he was supposed to be the guy. And his grit and his guile and his toughness just kind of propelled him into the starting role there. Trey Lamb was the starting quarterback at Tennessee Tech not that long ago. He's in his young 30s. And I think Trey sees a lot of himself in Bailey Fisher. Then Bailey stayed at Tech for 1 year. When Trey came to Gardner-Webb, the offense changed. It no longer suited Bailey Fisher. So he transferred to Gardner-Webb. For parts of this year, we haven't seen him use his feet. He was injured very early in the season, but over the last 2 or 3 games, he's gotten a lot more healthy, a lot more willing to run, and that makes him a dual threat guy. He's best when he's on his feet, and he's best using kind of all of those weapons, the running back Gaither, the target, the sure-handed Haywood, the deep threat in TJ Luther. He's not a guy that looks the part, but he's started over 40 college games. He's thrown for over 10,000 yards. He's everything you want in a quarterback at this level. He's the ultimate leader.
Outstanding. Let me ask you about this. Mike Mentor, before we play Campbell, said, as Bashul Tootin goes, so goes the Aggies, and Tootin ended up running for 256 against him. What is the thought process down there in Bowling Springs about Bashul Tootin and the need to slow him down on Saturday?
I mean, I don't think anybody plays A&T and doesn't plan to slow him down. It's just not very easy to do. You guys have an unbelievable offensive line, and he is a NFL caliber or all-pro caliber or all-conference caliber, whatever you want to call it, sort of back. So, yeah, there's no question in my mind that Gardner-Webb is going to kind of game plan for him, A, B, and C, and if Fowler and Leslie and that group of guys beat them, they take their hat off and they say, hey, we were able to negate their star player, and that's the way she goes. And that's why I think when you guys point to Fowler as the wild card, I agree with that. If Fowler doesn't make mistakes, if he has a great game, he complements Tootin, A&T is really hard to beat. But, yeah, the emphasis of the defense, no question, is stopping the running game.
Al, as you look at Gardner-Webb, former coaches like yourself, what would concern you about looking at that Gardner-Webb team on film?
Well, I tell you right off the bat, it is Bailey Fisher that scares the heck out of me, Brian. I mean, I'm losing sleep over this guy because, I mean, he can throw the football, and he's got some quality receivers. Of course, we know that TJ Luther is his favorite receiver, but he is able to not only throw the football, but what really scares me is that he can extend plays. When you get pressure on him, he's able to, he has the focus. He can get outside the pocket. He can still focus down the field, and he's going to make you play defense on not only the front side, but the back end of the defense. And so that's what really, really scares me. And that's why I think in order for us to be successful, we're going to have to really get a really positive running game. And I say that because by using your running game, you can hopefully limit the time that he's going to be on the field. I mean, because he is a playmaker. I mean, it's no doubt about it. And in terms of, if I don't call it a weakness, but, we've had some trouble this year in terms of stopping the pass. We've done better in past years because I think we've gone to a more of a zone coverage defense. Guys on the back end are doing a much better job of playing their zone. And, of course, we got guys that are really doing well. And like Karan Prunty, who has 4 interceptions this year, and he is really doing an excellent job of playing the pass. But Fisher? I mean, he really frightens me because this guy can hurt you from anywhere. He throws the ball. He's got good receivers. He's confident. And as I said before, Brian, he can extend the play. When you get pressure on him, he has the ability to get outside and not only extend, but to hurt you with his legs. So that's going to be a big challenge for Aggie defense on Saturday.
I'm Brian Holloway here, your host. I'm with the radio guys. I'm excited about this, man. You guys got the information flowing. Dave Freeman of Gardner Webb, he's going to bring the game to you live for the Running Bulldogs. And then Al Swan will join Donald Ware on the A&T network and bring the game to you live. We'll be right here on TobaccoRoadSports.com and also on WSJS and then XM Radio. And we'll give Dave to give his numbers out as well. But I want to talk to you guys about defense. We brought that up a little bit, and I can hear, as you're talking, Al, talking about Bailey Fisher, I can hear guys like Jacob Roberts and Tyquan King getting upset, like, hey, let's play. So let's talk about the A&T defense. Number 1 in the Big South, number 6 nationally. A&T known for his defense over the last few years, especially since Sam Washington came there as a defensive coordinator, now head coach, very known for their defense. Talk about A&T's defense. Shamari Wallace was a madman last Saturday from that defensive line position. And they've had kind of a lot of a good push up front lately. Talk about how the A&T defense is playing and what they'll need to do to slow down this high-powered Gardner Webb offense.
Well, you're right. You talked about Shamari Wallace. He has 20 tackles this year for A&T. Jermaine McDaniels has done just an excellent job from the edge. Porsche, Harrell with 20 tackles. And I really believe the strength of our defense, of course, is in those linebackers, King and Jacob Roberts. Those guys not only do an excellent job in terms of stopping the run, but they really cover from sideline to sideline, and they do an excellent job of covering the backs coming out of the backfield. So I think that with that front 4 of A&T and the strength that we have in the linebackers and the improvement that we've seen in the secondary this year, changing to more of a zone defense, and guys are really playing well with the added pressure that our front 4 can get on the passer. That's what makes this an intriguing ball game, and I really can't wait to see it. It's going to be a really interesting game.
A&T, of course, leads the Big South in interceptions with 14. Dave, what does Gardner Webb bring to the table in terms of defense? I mean, you get a lot of pub for your offense, but those linebackers, like Al mentioned about our linebackers, they really move from sideline to sideline. They get after you a little bit.
Yeah, I think A&T's secondary has picked off a ton of passes because their front 7 is elite. They get to the pass rusher, they hurry throws, they force mistakes. I think Gardner Webb's defense is kind of a mini version of the same thing. Gardner Webb's front 4, that's probably the strength of the defense, and then it's probably the linebackers, and then it's probably the back end. Ty French, the defensive end, has 20 sacks in 20 career games. He's an All-American type player. There's no doubt he's the best defender on Gardner Webb's team, and he is a guy that can wreak havoc. At linebacker, it's a position I don't think they were great at last year. They've just added a ton of depth. They really only played 2, 3, 4 guys last year. Now they're playing 6 or 7 guys. I don't know if Brendan Jackson is going to play this week. He's missed a couple of weeks with an injury. If they don't have him, he's a starter or a guy that plays a whole lot of snaps. That would be a guy that would be a missing and has been missing for a couple of weeks. In the back end, Jamari Brown, the safety, has had a terrific year. He's the quarterback of the defense. The cornerback, Raekwon Ousley, has been tremendous over the last couple of weeks, but there have been moments during the year that the secondary has not been their strength. When they can get home on the defensive front, the secondary looks a lot better. If the defensive front 4 can't get home, if they have to bring a 5th guy, you can put that secondary on an island. They can hold up. They can make big plays. sometimes they give up the big play too. So it's kind of some days they look like they're all Americans, and some days they look like they're not. And it can go either way.
You just brought up the Ty French, Ricky Lee, the third matchup. Oh man, you're just thinking about all these matchups and just how fun it's going to be on Saturday to see these two clashes kind of go at it, because you're looking at a very good left tackle, you're looking at a very good pass rusher. It's going to be an outstanding ball game. I'm intrigued by, Dave, your Liberty game because you look at the score. It was a very close score, and you hold Liberty to 21 points, and if you look at Liberty's facilities, they power five facilities, really. I'm intrigued by that game. What happened in that game, and how were you guys able to kind of come so close against a team like that?
You know, Trey Lamb has had an unbelievable run against those teams. They haven't won any of them, but they've been in the game consistently. They had Georgia Southern on the ropes last year. They had Coastal on the ropes this year. They had Liberty on the ropes this year. What tends to happen is he will pull one or two plays out of his playbook that you just can't possibly budget for. A weird formation, a trick play, something, an onside kick. He's always got a few of those tricks up his sleeve, ready to use them at the right time. The problem has been at the end of those games finishing. What tends to happen is it's close late. They need a score late, and the other team starts bringing pressure, bringing 5, bringing 6, bringing 7, and the Gardner-Webb offensive line in those big games against those bigger teams has not held up. On the offensive line, Travis Burke and Clayton Frady are all conference offensive linemen. Right now, they're both playing tackle. At times, one has played tackle and the other has played guard. They feel really good about Gabe Thompson, who's the center. The guards are kind of a revolving door, and some days Will McCraw's good, and some days Mike Brooks is good. Kyle Schneider, Travis Paulson, Larry Dowdy, they've all had their moments, but none of them have been reliable enough to be like a 10-game starter or even a 6-game starter. And when they've played those big games that they've played well for 3 quarters. Sometimes they've committed too many turnovers, but largely they've been in the game late. The offensive line has not always held up in the fourth quarter of those contests.
Outstanding. Great information. Thank you for that. Al, I want to ask you about the A&T schedule. We talked about 0-3. What game sticks out to you as kind of that catalyst game that kind of got us on this 7-game winning streak?
Well, as we said earlier, Brian, people were very critical about the Aggies, but we're right where we're supposed to be, with the exception of the Central game. And of course, we had to go against North Dakota State. We had to go against Duke. And all of a sudden we saw, I think one of the turning points for me was when we saw the elevated play of Jalen Fowler at quarterback. When he got to the point where he was starting to make really good decisions, when he was starting to get to the point where he was putting the ball where it needed to be, I think it really gave the other guys some confidence to let them know that, hey, we're a really good ball club. And, we can win this game. And I think one of the big turning points, of course, was that Campbell game when we fell behind early.
That's
we
good.
were behind 28-10 in the first quarter.
With 38 points scored in that first quarter, which is
Yeah,
absolutely incredible.
and it was unbelievable. That comeback was just totally unbelievable. And what it let you know is that the Aggies it gave them the confidence to know that, hey, we can do this. We really have a good ball club. And so I think that was one of the big turning points of the game. But, this game coming up Saturday, we talk about it all the time, Brian. We talk about will versus skill. And we got 2 good teams coming in this Saturday, and I think it may boil down to that particular point. Will versus skill. Who is going to have the will to do what it takes to win this Big South Championship? And that's what makes this such an intriguing game. And, I can't wait to get there and watch it myself. Yeah,
I think what you guys are saying, what Dave is saying, is that especially in those tight ball games against bigger schools he's talking about. It just, when it comes down to the wire, it comes down to execution and discipline. And who's ever the team that executes the way they're supposed to and is disciplined, not doing stupid things, not getting stupid penalties down the stretch, those are the teams that are going to come out, and those are the teams that are going to win championships. And that's probably what you're going to see a little bit on Saturday. Dave, I'm looking at the comments from some of our fans, so let's get into a little mini controversy here. What is the issue? Of course, A&T is a HBCU. HBCUs are known for their marching bands, no question about it. So there's a little scuttlebutt here in East Greensboro about whether our band was invited to play. What can you give us inside information, if anything at all?
I got no information. That's way above my pay grade. I personally think the A&T band is one of the best in the country. I think they should play in every game throughout the country all year long. But I got no idea. I'm sure that Gardner Webb is trying to get the best home field advantage they can. But,
that's right. God bless them. That's right. That's right.
I guess it's
their home game, and they're trying to get an advantage. No question about it. I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad. I'm gonna let you guys go out on this one. And I'm starting with you, Dave, as our guest here. Gardner Webb wins this ball game. What do you feel like their chances are going forward in the playoffs? It looks like whoever wins this game is going to get maybe a Colonial team. What do you think their perspectives is going forward into the first round of playoffs and maybe beyond?
I mean, I feel like Gardner Webb played a really, really competitive game against Elon. They played tight games against Coastal Carolina and a tight game against Liberty. And if they were to be able to beat North Carolina A&T, I don't know why they couldn't be competitive against one of those sort of teams. That being said, this is a Gardner Webb program that's never made the playoffs. That last was in a postseason game in 1992. This is the Super Bowl. You guys go to win championships. You play in big games. You're used to thinking about the bracket. For Gardner Webb, this is the biggest game in a long time. Anything after this is gravy.
Well put, Dave. Well put. Al, North Carolina A&T, last time in the playoffs. Of course, we played in the Celebration Bowl for many years. A&T after their sixth conference championship in 8 years. But last time we were in the playoffs was 2016 against Richmond, which I believe you called that one as well.
Yep.
What are you looking at A&T's chances? You know, if they win Saturdays 8 in a row, they're on a roll. What do you think of their chances going into the playoffs?
Well, from a defensive standpoint, Brian, I would put A&T's front four and their linebackers against anybody. But one of the things that Dave just said that really kind of frightened me. Hey, Gardner Webb, I mean, these guys, this is a Super Bowl for them, you know? And I know I was looking in the paper this week, and a couple of comments made by some of the A&T players that really bothered me. They said, this is just another game to us. It's not another game. This is the Big South Championship. And I bet you this is not another game for Gardner Webb. As Dave just told us, I mean, this is their Super Bowl. This gives them an opportunity to do something they have never done before. And we are going to have to meet that challenge from an enthusiastic standpoint and, you know, from the time we get there. This is the championship game, and I hope that we come into this game, us being A&T, with the attitude that this is it. This is not another game. This is for the Big South Championship, and we can move on. And as I said earlier, I really believe with that A&T defense, especially our front four and our linebackers, I would give us a chance against anybody. So game Saturday, this is it. This is going to decide it all. So let's, lace them up and see what happens.
Outstanding. Dave, where can we hear you on Saturday?
We're on WGNC AM FM out of Gastonia, and then on the TuneIn app or WGNCradio.com. But you guys know your announcers. Listen to your guys, support the home team, and whoever is the best team, whoever turns it over the least, whoever controls the line of scrimmage will win and go to the playoffs. It should be a lot of fun.
It should be a whole lot of fun. I can't wait to get down there and see it. And like you said, Dave, A&T's been kind of involved in some of these games over the years. They never get old. People ask me, does it get old? And Absolutely not. I was around when we lost 27 straight games. So no, it never gets old. I like this much better than losing 27 straight. So I'll take it each year if it happens. And it's always a fortunate thing that if you're in contention and playing for a conference championship. And so it's going to be a lot of fun. Our guys say a lot of things, but this is just not another game. This is to get a trophy and so and a ring. And so no question about that. It's going to be a game of big magnitude. Al, you see high scoring, low scoring?
I see this as a really high scoring game. I think one of the things that's going to be really important, Brian, if we can get our running game going early, force Gardner-Webb to bring one of their safeties down to have to support the run, that's going to give us some one-on-one opportunities on the offensive side of the ball. And as I said, I think we have some wonderful playmakers, Zach Leslie, Sterling Burkhalter, and of course, Tootin coming out of the backfield. And again, that's why I believe that Fowler could be the X factor in this game. If he really has a quality game, and it's gonna be a tough ball game. It's gonna be a tough ball game, and that's what makes it so intriguing. The fact that both teams are in many ways similar. They got playmakers, and again, boy, I tell you, Bailey Fisher, I'm losing sleep over him, Brian. He scares me to death because this guy can play. I tell you, he can.
It's always been my experience that safety starts the game in the box with Bashir Tootin down there. He's usually down in the box. We got to get him out of the box. With hopefully with the passing game a little bit. Dave, you see this high scoring or low scoring, and what are some of your keys to the game?
Well, I think it's strength versus strength in terms of the Gardner-Webb offense and the A&T defense. And my guess is they're going to neutralize each other. I think Gardner-Webb will make some plays and score some points. And I think the A&T defense will get off the field from time to time. I think it really comes down to, can Gardner-Webb stop Tootin? Can they get the defense off the field? And will A&T's offensive line control the line of scrimmage, control time of possession, and just kind of have the ball the entire game and control the game? If Gardner-Webb's defense can neutralize Tootin and even contain him, because I don't think anyone's holding him to 40 or 50 or 60 yards, if they can keep him somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 yards, I think they'll have a good chance. If he goes for 200 yards, I think A&T's celebrating a playoff berth.
Outstanding. Dave Friedman, Al Swan, you guys were outstanding, man. I couldn't have asked for any more. Now we're ready. We know all the players and the keys, and only thing to do is put the ball down. Let's play, right?
Kick it off.
Let's go play football.
Let's go play some football.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. 12 noon, Gardner-Webb, A&T, ESPN Plus. Also, North Carolina A&T, tobaccosportsroad.com. You can stream it live. Also, we'll be on WSJS as well. You can see it strolling down there at the bottom where you can catch Al Swan and Donald Ware, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. And so let's looking forward to it. Let's get it. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Take care.